Hello everyone, this is Soul with more Shadowlands coverage, and it's thanks to Blizzard giving us more and more updates that, well, we have more stuff to read back to you and to react to, of course. So right now we're in the middle of stream, so some people on Twitch are watching me right now and they're going to put up with me for about, oh shucks, almost an hour of me going through all these different class changes and everything else. Now I haven't looked at this at all. It was thanks to the stream who alerted me to this article that was just put out. And so I'm going to be going at this blind and naked and unprepared. So I apologize in advance for any stuttering or just kind of like, deer in headlights looks that I give to you folks. But let's just jump right into it and start reading stuff off. As Azeroth's champions prepare to traverse into the Shadowlands, they will gain powers both new and forgotten to take on the horrors that reside in the realms of death. Shadowlands class philosophy. Classes have evolved throughout WoW's 15 years of development, and so have our philosophies on class design. With new expansions and an increasing level cap came new spells, abilities, and talents. While earning new powers is exciting and a natural part of growth in a role-playing game, eventually, we began to butt up against the limits of action bar and accessible keybind space, and many of the tools and perks that had once defined certain classes became increasingly widespread, diminishing class uniqueness. To address this, in the past, we made changes to talents with Mr. Pandaria, and even removed several abilities in Warlords of Draenor. In Legion, alongside the introduction of artifact weapons, we focused on the class identity and carving out a distinct fantasy for each specialization to go along with their weapon. Mechanically, this meant revamps to most of our specializations, removing several long-standing class-wide abilities and adding new spec-specific abilities in the process. Today, in Battle for Azeroth, while specializations have unique and flashy abilities, we've heard feedback that in some cases we've moved too far away from the core of the class that initially sparked players' interest when they first created their character. At times, there is more that divides two specializations of the same class than there is that unites them. In Shadowlands, we want to return to the idea that a specialization is about powering up a specific part of a class's kit, not narrowing down their toolset. In an expansion that is all about choice, we also want to give players more opportunities to make impactful choices to customize their gameplay and express their own vision of how their characters engage in combat. Many specialization-specific abilities and spells that help define the identity of a class will once again be available class-wide. And we're reintroducing some iconic abilities to give all of Azeroth's heroes a fighting chance against the dangers ahead. In addition to these changes, players will have their new Covenant class abilities to look forward to, which we preview comprehensively in our Shadowlands, a look at Covenant class and signature abilities blog, which is not finished, by the way. Today, we'd like to give you a look at some of what's in store for each class, including our overall goals, some cool new and returning powers, and some key changes to abilities and talents. This is not meant to be a comprehensive list of updates. These changes represent a starting point for dialogue with the community, but this should give you a good overview of what to expect. Starting with Death Knight. Former champions of the Lich King, Death Knights overwhelmed their foes with brute force and dark magic. In Legion, Death Knights became very narrowly focused thematically around their spec. For example, Frost Death Knights having an overwhelming majority of their spells be Frost-themed only. In Shadowlands, we are unifying the core Death Knight kit by restoring many abilities back to all specs, including popular utility options from the past. Shadowlands class updates are still in development and yada yada yada. Okay, cool. Here we go. Let me expand this guy. Once these changes are live, all Death Knights will be able to desecrate the ground around them with unholy magic to deal damage to their enemies with death and decay. Nice. Or neutralize their attacks with anti-magic zone. So AMS, isn't that like I believe that's a Death Knight wide ability, but AMZ was not. So, very nice. Furthermore, every Death Knight will once again be able to help to tap into natural powers to temporarily turn themselves undead with Lichborn, nice, or use Raise Dead to summon a ghoulish servant to fight alongside them. The new Sacrificial Pact ability enables Death Knights to perform a forbidden ritual, sacrificing one of their undead minions, siphoning their health, and causing them to explode and deal damage to nearby enemies, which is pretty sweet. Finally, the Frosty Grasp of Chains of Ice will once again bind the enemies of all Death Knights. So first impression of the general changes sounds pretty darn good. Things like Death and Decay, Chains of Ice, and Raise Dead. Those I recall to be very iconic spells that we once didn't have, and now we that once we had, and then we didn't, and now at least we're getting them back again. But let's look specifically into Blood. At home in the Shadowlands and amongst their fellow dead, Blood Death Knights can learn new abilities and talent. Blood Tap allows Death Knights to consume essence from slain enemies to generate 1 rune, and is repeatable whenever a Bone Shield charge is used. Blood Knights will also get Rune Tap without needing to select it as a talent. So it's baseline. Okay. So they're getting Rune Tap, which is the normal heal. They're getting that baseline again, which is great. Blood Tap sounds pretty sweet. Especially in the case of just doing like some big pulls, and when I'm trying to remember, I don't recall, but I know that Bone Shield charges they're expended like once every couple of seconds and not necessarily on every hit, so it'll be something that's pretty easy to spam. Of course, there's a matter of whether or not Blood Tap is going to be on or off of the global cooldown. I have a feeling that it's going to be on the global. Relish in Blood will significantly heal those bloody bruisers for each active Bone Shield charge and grant 5 runic power when Death and Decay is cast while Crimson Scourge is active. These bloody bruisers. Oh, they'll heal themselves. I thought it was talking about like ghouls or something. Okay, so Relish in Blood will significantly heal themselves for each active Bone Shield charge, so pretty much an auto heal, looks like, and grant 5 runic power when Death and Decay is cast while Crimson Scourge. I believe that's a Crimson Scourge. I'm not quite sure what that is. Is that one of the Covenant abilities? But that seems pretty cool. For Frost, Memories of the Lich King's legendary sword Frostmourne stirs the hearts of Frost Death Knights, who can again choose between 1 and 2-handed. Oh shit! Oh, nice. 2-handed Frost is back. Very cool. I can stop reading now, right? That's that's pretty sweet. One of my boys tagged like he's a big fan of that. So the harsh lessons learned on frozen tundra of Northrend have manifested into new abilities and talents. The iconic Frostworm's Fury will be accessible to all Frost Death Knights, cool, rather than needing to be selected as a talent. Hypothermic Presence is a new talent that halves the runic power cost of abilities for a moderate amount of time, giving the Death Knight the vigor to strike down all who stand against them. So it feels like popping that will just give them a faster rotation. So that sounds pretty sweet. Unholy. While all Death Knights have some ability to control and reanimate undead minions, an Unholy Death Knight has chosen to specialize necromantic magic, and their abilities should reflect that. All Unholy Death Knights will be able to use Summon Gargoyle, which was previously a talent, to bring those flying terrors to their side. Army of the Damned returns as an even stronger force with a familiar and faithful recruit, a Magus of the Dead. Yes! I'm kind of familiar with Unholy, so I can speak to this like a little bit. These formidable magic wielders have fought side by side with Maldraxxus's bannermen, and their presence rallies Unholy Death Knight's ghoulish armies, lobbing Frostbolt and Shadowbolt spells into the enemy. Death Coil and Epidemic casts will reduce Army of the Dead's cooldown. I guess it's moving from a talent to a passive now, which is really awesome, allowing Unholy Death Knights to summon forth a relentless stream of monstrosities into battle. Magus of the Dead will also fight by a Death Knight's side when they cast Apocalypse, which also benefits from a cooldown reduction whenever Death Coil and Epidemic are cast. Unholy Death Knight's Mastery, Dreadblade, will benefit both Master and Servant by also increasing the Death Knight's shadow damage and the damage of their ghoulish minions, allowing undead armor. This sounds dope, alright? This sounds cool. And it probably comes from me playing as Unholy more than the other specs, but the whole idea of, minions, and then there's the matter of course, what other talents do we get? Can we get like a corpse ghoul explosion or something like that? I know that was like a really useful Azerite trait for me when I was doing horrific visions. But if we get something like this here, that would also be really, really awesome. So, I can't really speak too much about Blood and Frost. I can say that Unholy, this feels really good. I don't know if Monarga's in here, but oh well. Let's move on to Demon Hunter. Demon Hunters were originally added in Legion, at a time when all characters were assigned a specialization at creation, and artifact weapons made each spec feel almost like its own class, and that's reflected in the Demon Hunter's design. Though there are a number of similarities between Havoc and Vengeance, we feel we can do a lot more to create some common ground, such as sharing a single resource and certain abilities. General changes include the fact that all Demon Hunters now share a single resource, which is Fury, which channels their fiery hatred into something edgelord. In addition, Immolation Aura is going to be available to both specs. Oh, that's cool. You would figure that Immolation Aura would have been baseline between both of the specs, since I think back to like Warcraft 3 and Demon Hunters and how, they weren't exactly tanks. Okay, they were kind of evasive tanks, kind of, sort of, but you know what I mean. It's cool that it's going to be available for both specs. Havoc Demon Hunters have a new passive, Unending Hatred, which expands their Fury's maximum capacity, letting them get an extra hit or two in. I'm not familiar enough with Havoc. That sounds cool. I mean, they sound fast. They feel like a fast enough class, or they have plenty of stuff to press. So being able to press stuff a little bit more sounds cool. The Dark Slash talent has evolved into Essence Break, which deals chaos damage and significantly increases the damage that both Chaos Strike and Blade Dance deal for a short duration. Again, not too familiar, but it does sound that they'll just have some more flexibility with having the additional hatred and another button to press. Vengeance I'm a little bit more familiar with, as a tank. Vengeance Demon Hunters will see changes to Soul Cleave and their talents to encourage more build variety outside of Spirit Bomb. Yes! This includes getting Demonic as a talent option and Fell Devastation as part of their specialization's baseline abilities, so Demon Hunters can dish out more destruction than ever before. Similar to their Havoc brethren, Vengeance Demon Hunters who choose Demonic will temporarily enter their Metamorphosis form during a Fell Devastation. Oh, that's pretty sweet. Vengeance talents as a whole have been substantially reworked. We've combined several popular talents, shuffled others into different locations, and introduced new talents to encourage new build possibilities. One such talent is the new Bulk Extraction, which immediately rips a soul fragment from up to 5 enemies around the Demon Hunter and consumes them. That sounds like Spirit Bomb. For situations that call for the Vengeance Demon Hunters to take a hit or two, Ruinous Bulwark increases the healing of their Fell Devastation and converts overhealing into an absorption shield that lasts for a moderate amount of time. So that's cool. I mean, I've done a little bit of work as a Vengeance Demon Hunter, but I do feel kind of hamstrung into Spirit Bomb because it just does so much, and the debuff that it applies, it just feels useful, and it synergizes so well with doing multiple Spirit Bombs or using that and then popping Immolation Aura. So this sounds pretty good so far. I'll be interested to see more. Moving on to Druids. Druids are the masters of shapeshifting, a versatile hybrid class that can adapt their form to suit a wide variety of situations, and Shadowlands reinforces this core identity by giving them even more flexibility. We're bringing several abilities back to the class and making others more widely available. Most notably, the Affinity system has been expanded to offer abilities along with passive bonuses. Yay! All Druids will be able to use Ferocious Bite, Barkskin, Cyclone, Stampeding Roar, and Ironfur, regardless of their active specialization. That's pretty cool. That adds a lot of utility to Druids in general. Druids of any specialization will also now be able to Cyclone and Stampeding Roar, which is what they said, right? It's whatever. In addition, Heart of the Wild has been returned as a talent, providing an option for Druids who want to use off-roll abilities during combat. Cool. The affinity talents associated with each specialization also gain an additional utility ability. Balance will get Typhoon, Feral will get Maim, Guardian will get Incapacitating Roar, and Restoration can use Ursol's Vortex. Typhoon. Win. Easy. So I imagine that a lot of people will be picking up that for those sorts of situations. Let's move on to the specs though. Solar and lunar empowerments are being strengthened and updated into eclipses. Reminiscent of past expansions like Wrath and Starfire will grant each other alternating lunar and solar eclipses for a longer duration. with special moments of celestial alignment occurring, allowing both to occur at once. Balanced druids who master the flow of these eclipses will be able to ensure a period of sustained power to either Wrath or Starfire at key moments of the fight. Star Surge will extend the current eclipse to continue focusing power into either Wrath or Starfire, while Starfall instead extends your current Moonfire and Sunfire effects, giving the main arcane power spenders distinct roles based on situation. Now, I still consider myself like a big noob when it comes to balance, because all I do is dot, reaping flames. So it's a little bit hard for me to get like the flow here. But this does sound like we'll be able to just get a lot more flexibility when it comes to these empowerments. That's really the best I can speak to that. Starfall will also return to its previous design, used from Wrath, instead of needing to telegraph the affected area. Balanced druids again call down waves of stars, which strike the surrounding ground where they stand, run, or flap for its duration. I'm not quite sure how I feel about that one, because there's a little bit less control that druids will have, at least when it comes to the placement. But at the same time, they're going to get a little bit, they have one less click to perform. Yeah, so I'm not quite sure how I feel about that one, that they can't aim their Starfall, but they at least need to aim their faces, I suppose. For Feral, which I really don't have a whole lot of experience with, Fierce Felines will see their blood talent reimagined, tapping into their primal power. When Feral Druids use Shred, Rake, and Ferocious Bite in quick succession, the damage of their next rip will increase dramatically. Not much for Feral, unfortunately. Guardian Druids in the Shadowlands can once again embrace or bear hug their brutish side with Berserk, reducing the cooldowns of Mangle, Thrash, Growl, and Frenzy regeneration substantially, while also halving the cost of Ironfur. Okay, that sounds good. Renewal also returns as a talent choice, instantly healing the Guardian Druid for a fair bit of their maximum health. Also cool. Which is going to be OP too, considering their maximum health. Good for them. For Restoration, Swiftman will return to its historic functionality of consuming a heal over time effect on a target, but with a substantially reduced cooldown and cost. Oh, that's cool. And for moments of special need, the classic Restoration staple, Nature's Swiftness, will again allow a regrowth, rebirth, or entangling roots to be cast instantly. Communing with the wild spirits in Death's realm has reawakened Restoration Druid's inner knowledge to cast Nourish, a talent option that heals an ally for a significant amount. Nourish receives triple the boon from Mastery Harmony, which increases the healing for each active Restoration heal over time spell on the target. So, the return of Swiftman feels good. I remember when I tried messing around with Resto, I was like, hey, what happened to that? It's been that long since I messed around with Druids. So yeah, getting the triple the effect of Mastery, it makes me wonder if they're also going to like nerf the overall Mastery gain that you get from it from the get-go. So we'll just have to see. All right, moving on to Hunters. Masters of the Wilderness, Hunters draw on a variety of tools such as specialized ammunition and traps that alter the environment to their advantage. Those who master the strategy of chaining their abilities and coordinating opportune attacks with their bestial companions will unleash their full lethal potential. In general, we feel the core of the Hunter class kits is well realized across all of their specializations, yet each plays in a unique, fun way. As a result, Hunter's core damage rotations will remain familiar in Shadowlands, but several iconic abilities will return and many talents will be updated. Ooh. Arcane Shot, Eyes of the Beast, Hunter's Mark, Kill Shot, Scare Beast, and Trank Shot will be available for all Hunters to use regardless of their active specialization. Ooh, Kill Shot. I enjoyed using Kill Shot back in the day. Hunter's Mark coming back is great. Arcane Shot, that was, I mean, it was kind of a filler, but that was always like a fun boom kind of attack to use. Scare Beast and like Trank Shot. Oh, Trank Shot is definitely going to be an added utility. Scare Beast, cool. We'll just have to see just how how many beasts are actually going to show up in Shadowlands. We'll have to see. To prepare for the fight ahead, all Hunters will have their stable size significantly increased to hold many companions, including the new creatures they discover and tame in the ethereal wilds of the Shadowlands. Sweet. Okay, yeah, there's gonna be beasts, but cool. More stuff to hold on to. All right, Beast Mastery, which I'm familiar with. A Beast Mastery hunter's strength comes from the bond with their companions, who will ruthlessly fight at their side and savagely tear apart enemies. Bloodshed is a new talent that Beast Mastery hunters can teach their companions, commanding the beast to tear into their target. The unfortunate quarry will bleed significantly, causing them to take more damage from their pets. Now, I wonder what other selections are going to be available on that row that would compel me to pick up Bloodshed. Otherwise, I might still want to pick up, the double pet or something else like that, right? Beastmaster's Scent of Blood talent is being reimagined. This passive now activates when Bestial Wrath is used, granting 2 charges of Barb Shot to bloody a target and empower their bonded beast to take down threats quickly. Now, Scent of Blood, if I recall correctly, which I might not, I believe that increased your chance of getting a Barb Shot proc. So changing it from randomness to control isn't so bad. It's kind of an either or thing, it's something that we'll just have to adapt to. Anyway, Venomous Bite takes the place of Spitting Cobra and comes with a twist. When Bestial Wrath ends, a Cobra will come to aid the hunter in combat. The Serpent's power will increase based on how many times they used Cobra Shot during Bestial Wrath. Okay, this seems cool. Now, if it's going to take place on the same row, that's going to make me choose between Stomp, the thing in the middle. Oh, it's where you use a Cobra Shot, and that resets the cooldown on your kill command, and then there's the Venomous Bite. So this will be kind of interesting. I mean, it sounds kind of awkward though, because you typically want to have as many you want to have like as many kill commands going out. So instead, you're using a Cobra Shot as a big spender and trying to get like a certain amount before the Venomous Bite debuff ends, and then you get the Cobra comes out. So yeah, we'll see how that works out. I'll be interested in testing that. For Marksman, Master Sharpshooters can empower Kill Shot with Deadeye, a new talent that lets the hunter store 2 charges of Kill Shot. Oh, sweet. It also makes aim shot recharge faster for a short time whenever Kill Shot is used. That's pretty straightforward. That sounds like fun. Binding Shackles is a new passive talent that causes enemies rooted by their baseline Binding Shot to deal less damage to the hunter for a short time after being released from the root. Nice PvP thing there. And for soloing, of course. Volley is a new talent. Volley, really? A new talent that enables the marksman hunter to rain arrows down a targeted area over a short period of time. It also empowers the hunter with the Trick Shot buff, causing all their aim shot and rapid fire abilities to ricochet and hit up to 5 additional targets for half the damage during the entire duration of Volley. So, is that enemies that are within the targeted area, or is it like any enemy? That kind of would make a difference for me. So, for survival, to take down the horrors waiting for them in the Shadowlands, survival hunters are refining their skills and improving their weapons and gadgets. Expect to see damage increases for Hydra's Bite, Butchery, Steel Trap, Tip of the Spear, and the Flanking Strike, along with a reduction in the focus cost of Chakrams, all designed to help them best the beasts they'll encounter in Death's Realm. I mean, so just a buff? That's kind of cool, I guess. Not to say that survival is doing fine. I'm not familiar with the spec at all. I prefer it to be, hey, we went back to making it a ranged class again, but oh well. Let's move on to mages. Mages manipulate many schools of magic, but focus their power on one in particular. We feel it's important for every mage to have access to spells from the Arcane, Fire, and Frost schools, especially for utility purposes, even if their damage rotation draws primarily from a single source. And to support this, we're making more spells from all 3 schools class-wide. In addition, we felt that the Arcane Mage damage rotation lacked a focal moment that results in a big payoff. As such, the combat rotation is undergoing a significant design that looks to add this while retaining the overall flow and feel of the spec. So I'm thinking back to like when they first announced Shadowlands, and they were talking about, okay, we're going to do an pruning and things like that. And people were like, oh, that's it. We want a big revamp. And Blizzard had said, okay, don't count on like a really big class revamp. Although, depending on the class that we're looking at, we are going to see some pretty significant changes with these new talents, abilities that are going off of the talent row and going baseline and so on and so forth. So I'm pretty excited about that. All right, so general changes: Arcane Explosion, Fire Blast, Frostbolt, and Mirror Image are once again available to all specializations, and Fire Ward and Frost Ward return to bolster mages' defenses. Pretty sweet. Arcane Explosion. Yes. Nice, free, cheap AoE. Ultra Time also comes back from the past. Oh, that's nice. Allowing mages of all specs to show off their temporal mastery. When cast, the spell gives the mage the ability to return to their initial location with the same health and mana after casting it a second time or after a short duration. Same health and mana. Is that all it's going to do? Just returning to the location? I thought before it like gave cooldowns and stuff back too. I'm trying to remember. All mages can also learn a new talent, Focus Magic, which grants an ally a slight bonus to their spell critical hit chance. In addition, when the ally critically hits with a spell, the arcane mage receives the same boon for a short period of time. A support ability? Oh my god. God, what was that one warlock spell called? Dark Intent or something like that? Where you wanted to buff someone else, so that way if they did stuff, then you would get a buff, and you ideally wanted to buff like either the highest DPS in the raid, or you wanted to just buff someone who could get a lot of procs off so that you could do it too. So that's not bad. It's snapshots buff. Okay, thank you, Nix. All right, let's move on to, let's get to these specifics here. For Arcane, wild, untamed magic wends through the Shadowlands, and Azeroth's most chaotic magic wielders can't wait to channel it. Clear casting now has an additional stack. Oh, 2 stacks? What? Rendering arcane mages even more capable of decimating their foes. Mastery Savant now extends its damage increasing properties beyond Arcane Blast and Barrage to all spells. Ooh, that's nice. Touch of the Magi moves from its current place as a talent to a baseline arcane ability, allowing wielders to target an enemy that will take an additional burst of damage from all arcane spells and spread that damage to surrounding enemies. That's pretty sweet. Because I mean, at least from observation, Arcane has felt like a much less popular spec than the others, notably Fire. So this will be a nice way of making Arcane a bit more attractive. Enlightened is a new talent that rewards mana management. While the Arcane Mage's mana is above a certain threshold, it empowers all arcane damage dealt by a moderate amount, and when it's below that threshold, it significantly increases mana regeneration. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. Sounds cool. Fire mages now have more control over how and when they spread their Ignite with a redesigned mastery, Ignite. Fire Blast now serves as the catalyst. When used against an enemy who is ignited, it spreads to up to 8 enemies close to your target. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Fire Mage's talents are also getting a few updates to help promote different playstyles based on the situation they face. Blast Wave now does more damage, and an increased slow duration helps keeps enemies at bay while melting their health away. For mages who want to watch the world burn, the cooldown reduction provided by Kindling is increased, allowing the mage to get their combustion back faster for maximum critical strike goodness. I like that. They straight up said goodness. The damage bonus that Pyroclasm grants is also being increased, making the reward for casting the next non-instant Pyroblast much more satisfying. That seems pretty cool. Sounds like a good opener, assuming that I'm getting that right. With the addition of mirror images and ultra time, Frost Mages will have some cool new abilities to weave into their gameplay. One of the more noticeable changes to Frost Mages in Shadowlands is the update to Flurry's Winter's Chill debuff. Previously, Winter's Chill was tied to Flurry's movement speed debuff, which created tight windows and required distance checks to achieve the maximum damage bonuses. Moving into Shadowlands, Winter's Chill is now a much longer debuff that causes Frost Mage's next 2 spells to treat the target as frozen. Oh, that's good. A debuff that increases the critical hit chance from the Frost Mages and their allies against the target. So it looks like we're seeing more of these like little bits of support that that classes are able to add, at least coming from mages. You know, it's either do that one arcane, I believe they get a buff that buffs a buddy. This one is more like kind of a group buff where you debuff a target, everyone can do some additional damage to it. That's pretty sweet. All right, let's move on to Monk, which this is going to be a bit of a struggle for me, guys. So I'll give this a shot. In preparation for their perilous journey into the Shadowlands, monks return to the Peak of Serenity to study, train, and hone their skills. Several abilities from the original version of the class return to all specializations to reinforce their identity as masters of martial combat. In addition, each specialization will receive a unique celestial cooldown ability, reconnecting them with the mystic nature of Pandaria. Expel Harm, Fortify and Brew, Spinning Crane Kick, and Touch of Death are now available for all monks to use. Oh, thank God. Additionally, Touch of Death returns to its original design, killing an enemy with less health than the monk. Each specialization also gains a unique benefit by dealing damage with Touch of Death. Nice. All three specializations will also be able to summon their Celestial to the battlefield with Invoke Xuen, the White Tiger, Invoke Nu Zhao, the Black Ox, and Yulan, the Jade Serpent, which were previously talents. Nice! So you can just, damn, they can just grab them. It's like totems, but, not totems. Ooh, Brewmaster has a lot of stuff. Okay. Stalwart Brewmaster monks are prepared to do all they can to restore balance and can again choose between one-handed and two-handed weapons to subdue their foes. Sweet! Brewmaster monks now also have a returning passive, Shuffle, which increases the amount of physical damage that's staggered when the monk uses one of several abilities, including Blackout Kick, which was Blackout Strike, Keg Smash, and Spinning Crane Kick. Celestial Brew is a new ability that absorbs damage based on the imbiber's attack power, and Brewmaster monks can once again challenge their chosen with Clash, a returning ability that causes both the monk and their target bull rush each other, and at the epicenter of the conflict, root their opponent for a short duration. I miss that ability. I thought Clash was dope, so I'm glad that one's coming back. All Brewmaster monks will be able to use Invoke Nu Zhao, the Black Ox, to help shoulder Brewmaster's staggered damage. Nu Zhao also deals additional damage based on staggered damage purified, which is cool. For Brewmaster monks, not only does Touch of Death instantly kill any creature with less health than the monk, but it will also clear remaining stagger damage. Damn. Like all stagger damage? Like if I'm in the red and then I'm fighting like a boss or a big group of mobs, and some mobs have like low health, I'll just like, boop. That's pretty, damn. I don't recall the cooldown on Touch of Death, but that sounds pretty devastating. Brewmasters can imbue their brews with divine powers via a new talent, Celestial Flames. Drinking brews has a moderate chance to grant Celestial Flames, which slightly increases Breath of Fire's damage reduction and spreads its periodic damage to affect targets struck with Spinning Crane Kick. Oh man, that's an easy rotation to get in, I think. Exploding Keg returns as a talent, immolating enemies on impact and blinding them for a brief period of time. Now, I'm not familiar enough with Brewmasters and like their ability to like control enemies when they're already on them. I mean, there's all sorts of things and like slows, and they got like that Ring of Peace and things like that. So adding more to it sounds pretty darn good. All Mistweaver monks, which I'm slightly familiar with, will be able to use Invoke Yulan, the Jade Serpent, to summon the Celestial, who heals allies with Celestial Breath and spawns healing spheres for nearby allies, if they walk onto it. Ugh. Touch of Death now instantly kills any creature with less health than the Mistweaver monk, and will spawn healing spheres for their allies. Okay, so that definitely gives a bit more interaction for healers. It's like they're standing next to a dude, while they're healing, heal. They see someone, boop, Touch of Death, more heals. Ho, that sounds cool. Invoke Chi-Ji, the Red Crane, returns as a talent choice, strengthening their physical damage moderately, and healing their allies for part of the damage inflicted. Oh, Fist Weaving's back. Okay. Chi-Ji also makes Mistweaver monks immune to movement impairing abilities so that they can constantly be on the move during combat. That's pretty sweet. I had looked into like the idea of fist weaving as I was prepping my healer for horrific visions. I'm like, okay, this isn't really like a thing. And all it does is not exactly inflict healing based on the damage that I do. It just enhances the healing that I already cast on allies. So I mean, it was okay, but it wasn't like great. So something like this is basically brings fist weaving back as a cooldown, which is pretty cool. Now a class that I'm oh wait, no, Windwalkers. Like their Brewmaster brethren, Windwalker monks will once again be able to choose between one and two-handed weapons, which is awesome. All Windwalker monks will be able to call upon a powerful ally with Invoke Schwen, the White Tiger. Schwen will fight by their side and assault enemies with Tiger Lightning, dealing additional damage to targets the monk has recently attacked. Touch of Death will instantly kill creatures with less health and will spawn chi spheres that the Windwalker can consume to basically use spenders again. In the Shadowlands, wild gods freely wander the woods of Ardenweald, and their magic awakens Windwalker monks' knowledge to perform Dance of Tiji. This new passive talent has a moderate chance to make the next spinning crane kick free to use, and deal a significant amount of extra damage to all that it strikes. Pretty straightforward, not bad. Now for Paladins. I know Paladins a little bit. That's a lot to read. Okay. Devoted servants of the light, Paladins tap into its holy power to protect their friends and vanquish their enemies. In the original version of the game, Paladins had several categories of spells that transcended their specializations, such as seals, oh god, seals, no, blessings, and auras. While we feel that not all of these categories of spells make sense for the modern game, having those categories define the Paladin class. We want to restore that feeling of shared spell categories with the unification of the Paladin resource system, and the restoration of several iconic abilities, including auras. While a few of these abilities are situational utility, they play well into the Paladin's archetype as a holy avenger and a bane of the undead. Alright, let's get ready. Let's get my emotional readiness, okay? Blessing of Sacrifice, Hammer of Wrath, Sense Undead, Shield of the Righteous, Turn Evil, and Word of Glory will be available to all Paladins regardless of their specialization. Whoa, okay, so Bosac, cool. Hammer of Wrath is going to be a prop thing. Sense Undead, whatever. Shield of the Righteous is going to be available for all specs, including Ret. That's interesting. Turn Evil, the Fear thing, and Word of Glory. So I wonder what's going to happen to Hand of the Protector or whatever. Holy Power returns as a resource for all Paladins to use. Makes no difference to me, to fight off attackers and defend their allies. I know that a lot of people are like over Holy Power, and a lot of other people were kind of that Protection Paladins didn't have Holy Power, but I mean, that didn't really affect me. Anyway, abilities such as Crusader Strike and Hammer of Wrath grant Holy Power to use, which can then be spent to call upon the most powerful forms of the light, including Word of Glory and Shield of the Righteous, to vanquish foes and protect allies. So it looks like the charge, from the looks of it, I guess I'll get into the specifics. I'll react later. As champions of the light, all paladins can use powerful auras to safeguard and enhance their allies. Concentration Aura returns to all paladins, reducing the duration of interrupts and silences. Whoop-de-doo. A redesigned Retribution Aura allows paladins to avenge fallen allies with a short burst of avenging wrath, by giving these holy warriors the strength to vanquish evil or keep their remaining allies on their feet. Crusader and Devotion Auras are also available to all paladins. So Crusader Aura is going to be something that's shared again. Devo Aura is probably going to be my default. Ret Aura is gonna seem kind of different. I'm gonna tell my allies, all right, go, die. I need my buff. That'll be good. All paladins will also have access to more talents that allow them to manipulate and spend holy power. The Divine Purpose talent will be available for all paladins, yes, to select and standardize for all specializations, allowing their abilities that spend holy power to have a decent chance to make the next holy power spending ability free, yada yada yada. Oh, and increase its damage or healing output. Okay, so it's definitely worth using. Holy Avenger allows the generation of huge bursts of holy power in a short window, while Seraphim allows the paladin to spend their holy power to increase their secondary stats for a moderate amount of time. Not a fan of Seraphim, but it looks like Holy Avenger is going to go on to a talent bar, maybe. For Holy, the Azerite trait's Glimmer of Light moves to a space in the level 50 talent row, competing with powerful existing options such as Beacon of Faith, while Holy Paladin's Aura talent row has been replaced by the class-wide Aura bar. Aura Mastery continues to give Holy Paladins the unique ability to give any aura a special empowerment. Okay, that's cool. I wonder how this is that going to work for like Crusader Aura? Everyone gets to move faster when not mounted. Oh, that'd be cool. If paladins have their own, like, legit, holy paladins will have their own legit stampeding roar or something like that. But having Glimmer as a baseline thing, it was a really popular thing, so I'm cool with that. Let's go with Ret second. For Ret, the darkest places within the Shadowlands inspire Retribution Paladins to perform various acts in the name of the light. Wake of Ashes is available to all Retribution Paladins instead of needing to be picked as a talent. Cool. Allowing these holy warriors to vanquish evil with a blow so powerful it damages all foes close to its impact and reduces any survivor's movement speed significantly. Now, if I'm remembering this correctly, Wake of Ashes is like just a cone dealy. Yeah, it's just kind of it's just a cone. And so now it's going to be changed to a single target explosive thing. So, oh well. Doesn't seem like a big deal. Empyrean Power, previously an Azerite trait, will be available as a talent, giving Crusader Strike a moderate chance to make the next Divine Storm and the next Divine Storm cost no holy power, and increase the damage dealt by a significant amount. Cool. Now for Prot. Oh, that's it? It's a very short one. To better uphold their oath to protect the innocent, Protection Paladins now exude Shining Light, a new passive that makes the next cast of Word of Glory free whenever Judgment critically strikes a target, enabling Protection Paladins to shield themselves and defend their allies from attackers. Oh man. Okay. If this is going to be a passive, because as a prop paladin, at least in my groups and stuff, I love being able to spot heal and be able to get like a nice big heal on people. Now it's going to depend on like how big of a heal Word of Glory does. I mean, it makes the next Word of Glory free. Is it going to be a full power? I don't know if there's going to be 3 or 5. If Holy Power is going to stack up to 3 or 5 or whatever it is, it might be 5 as usual. But if it's like a full 5 cast, it's like, hey, cool. So that's going to make me think of crit. Can I be a crit pally again? Probably not. So for Prot, I guess I should speak to this a little bit more since that's what I do. I like the changes. The idea of Holy Power doesn't affect me one bit because I'm used to both systems, whether it's a charge system and Shield of the Righteous or using a resource like Holy Power. That doesn't really affect me any. What will make me think about this more is going to be the fact that it's a shared resource. So I'm going to use Holy Power on either Shield of the Righteous or Word of Glory, something like that. So I think that I don't think that's a big deal. I'm cool with this. I like this. I'll be curious about the Ret Aura though. For priests, let's move on. Priests call upon the light to heal their friends and tap into the void to eradicate their enemies. In recent expansions, priest specializations have become polarized around these two ideas, with Holy and Shadow tapping only into their respective schools of power. In Shadowlands, we want to move back to a world where even though Holy Priest excels in their connection with the light, they are still able to harness some shadow magic to deal with foes. Likewise, even though Shadow Priests focus on harnessing void energies, they are still able to draw on the light to protect themselves. It sounds like Discipline is going to get the shaft here. Mind Blast, Mind Soothe, Power Infusion, Shadow Word Death, and Shadow Word Pain will be available for all priests to use regardless of their active specialization. Cool. I'll look at Disc last. For Holy, with the protective veil of the Shadowlands shattered, the grace of the Naru has slipped through and can be channeled by their most faithful. Circle of Healing is now a baseline spell for all Holy Priests, which is great, freeing them up to master a new talent in its stead, Prayer Circle. Prayer Circle empowers Circle of Healing, reducing the cast time of Prayer of Healing moderately for a short time when cast. So that's a nice combo. Circle, Prayer. That kind of brings me back to like old Wrath days when you would do something kind of similar to that. For Shadow, in the realms of death, Shadow Priests will learn how to ascend to the peak of their power with a new talent, Death and Madness. Each time a target dies after being slain with Shadow Word Death, the Shadow Priest gains a substantial amount of insanity over a few seconds. In addition, a Shadow Word Death resets, instantly ready to use on their next victim. Ooh, that sounds like a good maintenance. A way to like chain pull and keep your insanity going. That's pretty neat. Surrender to Madness returns with a wicked twist. On use, the Shadow Priest instantly gains a huge spike of insanity and casts Void Eruption on the target. Over a long duration, insanity-generating abilities grant 100% more insanity, and you can cast your spells while moving. However, this power comes at a terrible price. If the caster fails to slay their target during the buff window, they succumb to the shadows and die. So it's back! Instead of an absolute death thing that you want to use at the end of the fight, I mean, right now it's just like, okay, you pop it, you get some cool stuff, and then you get like a debuff or something like that. Now it's just, yeah, it goes back to you die. Now, of course, yeah, we're going back to like Legion. I guess it was Legion days where you just had to survive for as long as possible. So we'll see how this works out. All right, now discipline, since I kind of know discipline. Discipline priests are masters of balancing the forces of light and shadow, and the changes in Shadowlands cover both ends of that spectrum. Light's Caress is a new ability that the most powerful disciples of the Lights can use, enabling discipline priests to heal their allies by blessing them with Power Word Barrier, and healing them again if they're still under the barrier when it expires. Huh? Okay, so, hold up. It's a new ability that enables Disc Priests to heal their allies by blessing them with a Power Word Barrier, and healing them again if they're still under the barrier when it expires. Okay, that seems like a weird one. Maybe I'm not getting it so much. Discipline priests who dare to lean into darker magics can learn Shadow Covenant. This reimagined talent instantly heals a chosen hero and 4 other injured allies within a small area, and moderately increases the damage the priest deals for a short period of time, during which they cannot cast any holy spells. Oh, like Penance. It's kind of a bummer, right? Yeah. I don't know how I feel about that one. New to Discipline in Shadowlands, Mind Blast will provide a powerful burst of damage and atonement healing, along with an absorption shield for a significant mana cost. So is it like we're going to be deciding between Penance and Mind Blast and such? That'll be kind of interesting. All right, moving on to Rogues, my worst class. Oh boy. All right, throughout WoW's history, rogues have always had a broad utility toolkit for damage, control, and survivability. But during the development of Legion, we felt a need to distinguish each of the specs from each other and give them a unique identity. This resulted in us dividing up much of the core rogue kits among the 3 specializations, making each feel a bit thinner than before. For Shadowlands, we're working to correct this problem by restoring many iconic rogue traits to the base class, while preserving much of what's novel about each specialization. The 3 specializations of rogues share the teachings they've learned while mastering their vicious skills. Assassins teach the basics of potions, allowing subtly an outlaw to once again coat their blades with instant, crippling, and numbing poisons. Nice. The lost art of a well-placed shiv in a target side allows a concentrated version of poison to inflict the target for a short duration. Pickpocket will frequently uncover new ingredients that can be mixed into their Crimson Vial, augmenting its power the next time the rogue drinks it. Oh, that's neat. Crimson Vial actually does more than just like little heals and all that. Assassination rogues continue their mastery of poisons with the returning shiv ability, as they talked about, providing a moment of increased nature damage on the victim, mirroring the gameplay of Toxic Blade, which is previously a talent. And I didn't like that talent very much. Their poisons will be stronger and apply to their blades faster than other rogues, along with always infecting targets when attacking from stealth. Assassination once again has access to ambush as an option for their initial attack from stealth, but wouldn't I want to use Garrote instead? Blindside has been changed to give the assassin a chance to allow access to ambush even while out of stealth, with a higher chance on lower health targets. Nice. Shiv gets access to another upgrade through Toxic Blade. Wait, so Toxic Blade is still going to be around? Okay. So that's right. It's going to be there already. Okay. Reducing its cooldown to provide more frequent assaults of increased nature damage. All right. Outlaw. Ever resourceful and hungry for an edge, outlaw rogues have traded in the combo point requirement of Roll the Bones for a modifiable cooldown, which can be manipulated to line up with their staggering finishing moves. What? Okay, so no more hoping for Yahtzees, I guess. Frantic combat will reduce the cooldown of Roll the Bones through Restless Blades by spending combo points. Kidney Shot returns to Outlaw's toolkit with Between the Eyes, making their foes more susceptible to their critical strikes instead of stunning them. Oh, so they're losing a stun. Oh, that part kind of sucks that they lose a little bit of that utility. But in exchange for a little bit more output. Evasion returns as Outlaw's defensive ability, with Riposte becoming an upgraded talent option. Retractable Hook now also increases the speed of the rogue's grappling hook, getting them where they need to be faster than ever. Does it need to be that much faster? Oh, I know Kidney Shot is a stun, but then Between the Eyes is just like a thing that's, I believe it's on a 30-second cooldown before baseline and all that. So maybe it's not as big of a loss as I think it is. Subtlety. Don't forget about that one. All right, always looking for an advantage in combat. All subtlety rogues have mastered the art of Find Weakness, which was previously a talent. Attacking from stealth and other abilities allow the rogue to bypass their target's armor, but also causes additional shadow damage when they are struck by Eviscerate. Find Weakness can also mark a large number of targets when needed to set up for their new area of effect finisher, Shadow Vault, which also assaults targets with their Find Weakness for additional shadow damage. That sounds pretty cool. Shadow Dance gains the power of Dark Shadow, previously a talent, to increase all damage active, at the cost of less frequent dancing. Rupture returns as Subtlety's damage over time bleed finishing move instead of the shadowy Nightblade. However, they still have access to movement speed reduction and healing reduction through wound and crippling poison, since they're getting poisons back. Alright, cool. Alright, for Shaman. As a class, Shaman have long had some of the most distinctive categories of spells in the game. Totems, shocks, shields, weapon imbues, and chain spells. But over time, some have become the domain of specific specializations. In Shadowlands, we're giving these types of abilities back to the entire class. As a player levels up, they'll be exposed to the many ways a shaman can interact with the elements to overcome challenges. Over time, the shaman will discover which of these tools they have the strongest affinity for, and which abilities they like to focus on as they master the elemental forces. So, I'm going to speak to my inexperience as a shaman, and I feel overwhelmed with throw down totems for this thing, and I feel overwhelmed, and maybe it's because I suck at the class, but this kind of speaks to me a good bit. All right, in Shadowlands, Chain Heal, Chain Lightning, Healing Stream Totem, Flame Tongue Weapon, Flame Shock, Frost Shock, and Lightning Shot will be available for all Shaman to use regardless of their specialization. Searing Totem also returns as an ability for all Shaman to use, which bombards nearby enemies with fireballs for a short duration. Nice! So this is already pretty impressive that we get Healing Stream Totem back. I like that. Searing Totem, I like that one too. And then the fact that, of course, all these abilities are going to be available spec-wide or class-wide is going to be extremely cool. All right, Ellie Shaman first. The Maelstrom resource and accompanying bar have been removed. I kind of don't mind that. Returning elemental shamans to their former cooldown management playstyle. When we added Maelstrom to Shamans in Legion, we wanted to improve affordance around the use of Earthshock and Earthquake in the rotation. But the addition of the resource had the side effect of converting the spec into one with Builder and Spender abilities, which comes with certain built-in expectations on the payoff of its spenders. When an elemental shaman presses Earthshock and it consumes most of their resource, the expectation is that this moment is the peak of their rotation and there should be a big payoff. Which, yeah, I kind of feel that too. But we want the focus of the rotation to be about managing your Flame Shock debuff on multiple targets to maximize the potential of Lava Burst through Lava Surge procs, which I don't notice right now because Flame Shock has a really long not really long, but it has a long enough cooldown that it feels awkward. And I know that there are traits or talents that let you cleave or that let you do apply 2 flame shock debuffs, but that doesn't feel very good either. Anyway, Lightning Bolt and consequently Earth Shock are meant to be a flavorful but secondary part of the single target rotation. As such, we are returning to a design that relies on building aspects of Fulmination to determine when to insert Earth Shock into the rotation. Similarly, Chain Lightning and stacks of Seismic Thunder will serve to enable Earthquake. So it sounds like they're kind of separating some of these schools to be like, okay, I'm fighting these kinds of guys, I'm going to use these attacks. I'm fighting this kind of guy, I'm going to use these attacks. That's kind of how it feels. Echoing Shock is a new talent that blasts a target for significant damage, and it makes it so the shaman's next healing or damage spell casts a second time shortly afterward without costing additional resources. Okay, cool. Simple. Enhancement, which I don't know very well, and that's a lot to read. Okay. As with Elemental, the Maelstrom resource and Maelstrom bar have been removed from Enhancement Shaman. Enhancement will return to a specialization based on managing a number of cooldowns with high points built around repeat casts of Stormstrike. In Shadowlands, Enhancement Shaman who chain certain abilities in combat will see their efforts rewarded when the time is right, with the capacity to unleash a powerful cooldown dealing devastating damage. Maelstrom Weapon is going to come back, giving each attack a chance to grant a stack of a buff that can be used to make your next healing or damage dealing spell instant. I kind of remember that feel. Flame Tongue Weapon and Wind Fury Weapon can once again be applied to Enhancement Shaman's weapons, imbuing them with the power of the elements to suit the situation at hand. I'm just remembering now that they didn't say anything about giving two-handed weapons back to enhancements. Let's see if I end up reading up to that. The passive bonus provided by Hailstorm has been redesigned so that it resets the cooldown of Flame Shock and Frost Shock when a shaman uses Storm Strike. Cool. Searing Assault metamorphosizes into a powerful fire attack, striking the foe for significant fire damage and causes their Searing Totem to cast incredibly fast. It also triggers Flame Shock to rapidly dish out its damage over time burn effects to melt enemies. That sounds neat. Overcharge now generates 5 stacks of Maelstrom Weapon instantly, and another stack every second for a short duration. That sounds pretty big. Stormkeeper will make your next 2 lightning bolt or chain lightning spells instant cast and yada yada. Oh, so is Stormkeeper just going to be an enhancement thing now? Maybe. It also benefits from your Maelstrom Weapon, lowering Stormkeeper's cast time so the Enhancement Shaman can chain powerful abilities together to pummel down foes quickly. Elemental Blast is now a talent option, giving this melee-focused spec an access to a powerful spell to destroy foes from a distance. It also benefits from Maelstrom Weapon's effect, which can reduce its cast time or even cause it to become instant cast. If you're Maelstrom, this is a lot, dude. Or that's big. That's something that's really hard to speak or react to. Apart from me not having the experience, we're gonna have to really sit down and play this thing. All right. Once restoration shamans step into the realm of the ancestral spirits, they will find new ways to tap into the element's powers. Earth Shield can now be used by all resto shaman without needing to select it as a talent. Cool. Surge of the Earth is a new talent that expends a few charges of Earth Shield to significantly heal the current Earth Shield target and several nearby allies. So that's kind of like the whole Life Bloom Swiftman combo, but with a little AoE sort of deal to it. It's not bad. One of my guys, Crab, is saying, Enhance sounds awesome so far to me. Ellie is a major improvement, but so far based solely on this going back to enhancement. I definitely want to see see it in action, and I'll be interested to hear what you think about it later. All right, Warlocks. When designing Warlocks for Shadowlands, we had a few core goals. As part of our effort to distinguish classes as a whole, we're bringing back curses that Warlocks can use as proactive, situational tools, satisfying to use in special cases, but not something they should feel obligated to use when fighting every enemy. Abilities like Demonic Circle offer unique ways to interact with the world and combat spaces. Spec-wise, we're making relatively minimal changes to Demo and Destruction, as we feel their core rotations and talent options fit well with our goals for Shadowlands. With Affliction, we're making larger changes to bring the specialization's gameplay more towards managing damage over time effects, rather than saving up for a major burst moment. That is exactly what I ended up doing for my Warlock when doing Visions. I was like, alright, dot, reap, 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 and then when I fought the big guy, big drain life, and then I just melted those guys. So yeah, these guys are kind of speaking to me on that. All warlocks will be able to afflict their foes with Curse of Tongues, Curse of Recklessness, Curse of Weakness, and Curse of Doom. Ooh, Curse of Doom, yes. In addition, warlocks can manipulate space with Demonic Circle. Tongue-Tied is a new talent that empowers spells lobbed to targets suffering from Curse of Tongues, causing them to seal the victim from receiving healing effects, forcing them to succumb to all incoming damage for a moderate amount of time. That's messed up. Definitely a PvP sort of thing, which makes me wonder about PvP talents. Is that still going to be a thing in Shadowlands? And if so, what are they going to get? Alright, for Affliction. Unstable Affliction sacrifices its stacking effect to torture its victim longer. Actually, let me reread that. Unstable Affliction sacrifices its stacking effect to torture its victim longer, and all without consuming a soul shard. Oh, so I can just cast it now. Okay, cool. Soul Rack is a new channeled ability that ravages the foe's spirit, empowering warlocks' periodic spells to deal a significant amount of bonus damage to an enemy afflicted by this dark magic. So it's kind of like how I'm trying to think from like, didn't Drain Soul used to have that sort of effect, where yeah, that's how it is right now. You throw a bunch of dots, you use Drain Soul, and then they take some bonus damage or something like that. Affliction Warlocks can exacerbate the melees that they sow with a Malefic Rapture. Yeah, Malefic Grasp. There we go. That was the ability. It was called Malefic Grasp was the thing. Anyway, it's a new ability that causes their periodic spells to tick significantly faster while the victim is suffering from the malady. Okay. So it's an ability, not a channel. They just take more damage. So how weird. It's like they took Unstable Affliction and they gave, instead of the stacking debuff, you just have these other spells that you stack on top of it. It sounds busy. I'm going to be curious how this works. New talents will be available for Affliction Warlocks to more effectively drain away the life from their victims. So the seeds will now embed 2 additional seeds into nearby enemies, which, combined with the new Malefic Rupture ability, can make for explosive results. So instead of 1 additional seed, it's 3 targets that can be hit with seed. Yeah. Okay. Finally, Doom is now available for Affliction Warlocks to use and deals more damage with a shorter damage over time duration. If Doom kills the target, there is a slight chance the Warlock will summon a Doom Guard to fight for them for a period of time. I've always had a mixed feeling about Doom and how unreliable it could be, when it comes to getting the Doom Guard, and especially that if Doom has to kill the target, it made it very unattractive to me, in my opinion at least. Alright, Demo. Dark Pact will now scale with a spell power to deal more damage than ever before. Okay. Demonology Warlocks will also discover that the Dark Fury talent has a new effect. In addition to the cooldown reduction it provides, it empowers Shadow Fury by increasing its area effect as a spell crashes down on the battlefield. Wow, that is really minimum. Okay. For Destro, Fire and Brimstone is getting an upgrade as it now generates 2 Soul Shard fragments for each additional enemy struck by the Warlock's empowered Incinerate. Yeah, they weren't kidding. Just Affliction is going to be touched. Alright, Warriors. Clad in heavy armor and wielding brutal weapons, it's often forgotten that warriors are also hybrids, equally adept at dealing damage and protecting their allies on the front line. We want to restore utility to all 3 warrior specs by bringing back many iconic abilities that are useful across the game. In addition, several talents have undergone revision for each spec to increase build diversity and gameplay variety. Execute, Hamstring, Ignore Pain, Shield Block, Shield Slam, Spell Reflection, and Whirlwind are now available to all warriors to use regardless of their active spec. Furthermore, Challenging shouts and intervene are returning. Nice. And all warriors can use all warriors can use them to turn the tide of battle. Shattering Throw is also back with a new twist. It will deal devastating damage against foes protected by an absorption shield. That'll be interesting. Lastly, Double Time and War Machine can now be utilized by all specializations of the talent. Okay, that's cool. Wow, so that's going to make like passive bubbly. Yeah, I do wonder if that's going to work on like passive bubbles, because we see in Battle for Azeroth and whatnot that you get a lot of that passive shit going on. So if Shattering Throw, depending on the cooldown, if it can do like additional damage there, okay, that's going to be great. But yeah, I've never been all that affected by, I'm bubbling against the warrior. I don't bubble against the warrior. I just end up killing him beforehand. So, oh well. Anyway, let's get to the specs. The enemies of Maldraxxus have inspired arms warriors to return to several key martial tactics and abilities. Piercing Howl can now be used by arms warriors, giving them another way to stop enemies in their tracks by dazing them and significantly reducing their movement speed for a short duration. Really? That wasn't it demoralizing shouts that that warriors had? Something like that? Anyway. Cleave has been redesigned. After striking 3 targets with Whirlwind, the warrior can use Cleave to strike all enemies in front of the warrior, inflicting deep wounds, which is a scaling bleed effect. Oh, nice. Oh, wow. That's messed up. Okay, great. The Deadly Calm talent has also been redesigned and will completely remove the rage cost of their next 4 abilities, and includes a passive effect that increases the warrior's maximum rage by a moderate amount. Dreadnought now takes on the Seismic Wave Azerite trait, empowering Overpower to deal damage to enemies in a line. When Overpower hits 2 targets with sweeping strikes, Dreadnought causes 2 devastating seismic waves. Fury Warriors will find themselves at home in the Shadowlands and will be able to perform feats in battle that were previously unfathomable. Fervor of Battle is a new talent, where the warrior loses themselves to their bloodlust during Whirlwind and also slams their primary targets and gains additional... Damn, that's a busy thing, where the warrior loses themselves to their bloodthirst during Whirlwind and also slams their primary target and gains additional rage. Wow. Warriors will now also be able to learn Onslaught, in which an enraged warrior brutally attacks their enemy for a large amount of damage and generates some rage. Nice. It looks like it's going to be an enrage ability. Frothing Berserker has been reimagined. Now when the warrior reaches 100 range, they gain haste and movement speed over a few seconds. Wrecking Ball returns as a talent, which gives the warrior a moderate chance for their next Whirlwind to deal a devastating amount of damage, which sounds pretty sweet. Fresh Meats now also causes Bloodthirst to always enrage you for the first time you strike a target with Bloodthirst. That one doesn't sound as impressive, since it always enrages you just that first time. So it would be great for like certain kinds of fights, PvP, questing and stuff like that. But for like a raid, not so much. Unless there's like a lot of ad fights or something. In their shining armor, Protection Warriors are seen as stalwart defenders, but behind the shield stands a cold-blooded tactician. Protection Warriors can now tap into their brutal side with some reimagined talents. Best Served Cold increases the damage of revenge, with the damage bonus increasing significantly after a successful dodge or parry has made revenge cost no rage. Oh, that's brutal. Well, I guess that's the point. Menace has also been redesigned with this theme in mind, empowering intimidating shouts to cause all enemies to cower in fear for a substantial amount of time, knocking back those who are not the primary target. Ooh. Indomitable will passively increase the warrior's maximum health by a moderate amount, and spending rage while the ability is active will heal their wounds. Oh, damn. I want more health, gosh. Never Surrender increases ignore pain by either a moderate or a significant amount based on missing health. Whew. So that is a lot to go over. So for those who stuck around for like the entire thing, thank you for joining me for the ride. And let me know in a comment below, like, how do you feel about these class changes? Do you feel impressed? Are you going to kind of take a wait and see approach? Are you already canceling your account and trying to refund your Shadowlands pre-order? I don't know, but let me know in a comment below, like I said. And otherwise, again, thanks for the ride. I'll see you guys for more Shadowlands coverage. But until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy. Video's done. Video's done.